Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Lüning, Horst Lüning. I'm the senior taster of Whisky.com. This is my son Ben, and this was an alarm on my phone. What a shame.
Sort of a duct tape production here.
So today we're having the live tasting of the Talisker range, and we have the younger range. There are a lot more of Talisker whiskies out there. And I hope that this time the video is more stable than the last time.
Yeah, but the German take was really, really good, so it should be fine.
Should be fine with the German telecom. And today we have a live tasting for the younger Talisker whiskies, as I said, and we're starting with the Skye, Talisker Skye, then the Talisker Storm, and the third one is the Talisker 10 years of age. Here, Skye, Storm, 10 years of age. There are others out on the market, the Dark Storm, which is a sherry, matured or finished, I think. Then the Portree, written Port Ruick. This is a port wine, finished. Then there's the 18-year-old, the 25-year-old. There had been some others, like the 57 degrees north. This was a cask strength, I think, or 57 100 proof, imperial proof. And so why have we taken these three bottles? Well, there is a miniature set out on the market, and I unpacked the bottles, the small miniatures, because they stuck so firm in that box. It was very loud for the microphone, so it was impossible to unpack them here live. So I unpacked them already, and we have the miniatures. And if you look very carefully or close to these bottles, then you have the new styling of the Talisker with the new colors. And if you see those here, they match perfectly, you see, like
At
this.
the back it's a bit darker. It matches in the front.
Yes.
Now I see.
And the miniatures, they are the old styling, where you do not have these intense colors, but mostly blue for the dark, for the Storm and the Skye, and the lighter one for the 10-year-old. And the 10-year-old is not the first appearance. The Talisker 10-year, thank you, Robert Reel, for $9.99.
Yeah, and there's another guy, Herbie on Wheels. Is it pre-recorded? No, it's not pre-recorded. We're live.
And there had been the Classic Malt of Scotland series, consisting out of 6 distilleries from United Distillers, they were called then, and they moved and progressed forward, and now they're called Diageo. And the 10-year-old was the official one in these Classic Malt of Scotland. I think there had been an 8-year-old Talisker in the Ascot Cellar Collection, which was the predecessor to the Classic Malt of Scotland, but I'm not quite sure if it was an 8-year-old. I think so. You had been to Talisker just last month or last week.
Yeah, so I've been to Talisker, not in Talisker. No, two differences. And so the first question is, where is Talisker? And it is on the Isle of Skye. Here you see a map of Scotland, and we have the whole mainland in the middle, and with the isles, they are in a dark orange, brownish tone. And in the very middle, you see an island called Skye. And here you have a map where the distillery is located, and it's on the more western side of the island, but it's not at the Atlantic coast. It's near saltwater lock, and that is very impacted heavily on the tides. And so it is. It used to be the only distillery on the Isle of Skye, and since 2017 they're not alone on that island anymore. And they are still the oldest distillery on the Isle of Skye.
Yeah, and I think that might be the reason why they changed the packaging, because they now write on the label or on the card box where is it? The oldest distillery on the Isle of Skye, somewhere it's written. Here on the side.
Yep.
From the oldest distillery of the Isle of Skye. And the distillery
Just there
itself.
only.
And the Isle of Skye, the Talisker distillery, is not on the rough outside of the island to the west, but it's on the inside at a saltwater lock, just separated from the rough sea by a small line of hills. And the tide in that saltwater lock is very, very strong.
Yep.
So when I was there was no water at all. It was just a flat seabed.
What is nice near the distillery, you can drive, I think, up the road and then don't turn left but right to even go further outwards towards the Atlantic coast. There is the Talisker Bay, which is a very nice beach, although I think it's cold all year round, and a black beach with black sand, very fine black sand. To your left you have big boulders lying in the coast and lots of wave crashing into the boulders, and to your right you have a very steep coast, and as I was there with a lot of rain, you have a big waterfall coming down that coast, and that is an amazing view, amazing look. And behind you, you still have all the sheep going around and just cutting down all the little bits they've missed last time.
Yeah. So now we have 3 whiskies to taste, and the first one we will start with is a Talisker Skye. It's priced. All those 3 whiskies aren't that expensive. They are priced in the not the low segment, but in the affordable segment. This is in the mid-30s. I think most of them will lie in the mid-30s. Euros, dollars, pounds, they're nearly all 1-to-1, aren't they, in the moment? Yeah, I think so.
Close.
And it will depend on the taxes you have.
The pound is still a bit stronger, but it's coming there. It's coming down.
So I'm starting here.
I was at the Isle. I think that was on the Isle of Skye, and no, that was still one island before that. And I wanted to pay with one of my pounds, and I had that pound for probably now 5-6 years now, because I didn't use it the last 2 times, and then I couldn't do a lot of tours in Scotland, and then they said it's not valid anymore. And I thought,
go to the bank
and I thought, like, is it because there's the Queen on there, or is it because you want the King here? And he was like, no, it's not about that. They have new pounds, and I had to go to the bank and just give them the pound and get a new pound.
It's so when I was the first time in the UK, we had this half a penny. We found half a penny in the subway. 1873 was written on it, still in use.
Half a penny.
Half a penny, then a threepenny bit, something called that, a 5-corner coin, a 7-corner coin.
Yeah, they have funny coins. I think they have, like, isn't it the 5 is bigger, or the 50 is bigger than the 1? Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, and the pound is thicker but smaller.
Yeah,
so,
but they became thinner and wider now, and they are like, they have an inside that's, I think it was silver, and outside is more of a copper
like
brass. Yes, like euros.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I was really amazed of, that's not valid. I'm not taking this pound.
So this is smoky, definitely a smoky note, but not overwhelming. You're able to smell something behind, and there is some citrus fruit behind this. It's not sour citrus, but more friendly oranges probably, and a little bit of seashore. Yeah, that's fresh from the sea, made by the sea.
Mm-hmm. It's nice and spicy. It has a really spicy touch to it, with a bit of a bonfire note to it, and a well-rounded, or not well-rounded smokiness, a spiciness, smokiness, just firing each other. I like it. Mm-hmm. It's a rough whiskey with a bit of a marine note as well. So yeah, made by the sea with a lot of smoke
and yeah, not too settled, young, fresh. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm-hmm. It starts oily, gentle, and then spiciness builds up. Then it kicks in. There's a peppery note in it, strong, running down your tongue, warm, long. And now I have the honey sweetness. Mm-hmm. When we had the first run with these, I wasn't able to find the honey. Now it's there. Mm-hmm. This light honey note and sweet smokiness in the back. Mm-hmm. Now there's a much more complex taste. So you have to have more than one, definitely, to describe it right.
I still find it smoky. I didn't have that kind of smoke in the nose. It's smoky. It's very spicy. And it does have that chili catch to it. There's always that discussion going on. Is it a chili catch? Is it a peppery note? And for me today, I say definitely a chili catch. But still there's enough pepper in there that gives you these darker and stronger flavors that you have in the glass.
So there was a writing in the chat that it's Talisker. It's a Nordic name, yes, and it's pronounced Talisker. All the Gaelic words, they are to 99% pronounced on the second syllable. So if you pronounce it in the Gaelic way, you would say Talisker, but this is a Nordic name, so you say Talisker. And then there was a question, what's behind that? What does it mean? I have not the slightest clue.
Made by the sea, I don't know.
Talisker, I will come with a sword and behead you. So they were Vikings, weren't they?
Yeah,
with the Nordic
maybe
names,
it's something. There is a Talisker Bay, so, and also there's a Talisker House, which doesn't have anything to do with the distillery, I think.
Yeah. So the distillery itself was built in the 1830s, so it's quite old. But there was a lot of change in it, and there had been a fire in. So first, the local sons of the local physician, they built the distillery in 1830. They finished it in 1831. So they knew the physical outcome of alcohol. So they made it themselves, and not to go to their father. Yeah, and then the distillery produced for 120 years, and then there had been a fire in 1960, and I read several sayings. So first there was only the roof burned away because it was a wooden structure on the roof. Today, most of the distilleries have steel beams on the roof, but in that time they had wooden lumber on it, and so they rebuilt it in 61, and the opening was again in 1962. So others said there was a big fire. If you see the quite modern buildings, probably the fire was bigger. I don't know what really happened to that. Here you see the picture from the street. So this is the main through road, and this is from the bridge to the local burn running down the creek, running down from the hill. And when I was there, it was completely dry. There was nothing. It was completely dry. And they said that they intended to recreate the old dam in the top of the small hills on the hill range to the sea to the west. so that they will have more water in summer for distillation. And you had been after summer, so we were already in fall, and you had lots of water.
Yeah, tons of water, water sideways. If you drive 20 minutes, you have 3 times rain and 3 times not. And
So the water itself, if you look into that creek, is yes some rust red, dark brown that comes from the moss, from the peat where the water is running through, but the color the water acquires, but not the peatiness. So the peat level in that water is close to none, and the peat in the whiskey results from using peat for drying, or peat smoke for drying the malt. And Talisker is said to have roughly 20 ppm of peat in the finished barley or malt. And typical very strong peated whiskey have 40, 45, maximum 50 for the typical very peaty whiskies from the islands, and Talisker just has 20, and just start to recognize the peat as a special flavor, I say from 7 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a mid peated whiskey. Yeah, next picture is the mash tun, and that is newer than the typical Victorian mash tuns you see in other distilleries, where you have cast iron segments which are bolted together and which are or was typically open. This one is a newer one and having a copper lid on top. This was typically added later for conserving energy, that the heated up malt wouldn't extract so much heat to the environment. So I would say there had been an old mash tun in it. Then that mash tun got a lid, which is what we see, and then they changed the cast iron against something else, probably a semi-lauter tun, something more fancy, more modern, more yield for the wort, and then they added the old lid on top of that. This is what I would suggest. Next picture is the fermenters, and called washbacks. And here you see they are old, they are black from the fungi which are there, and it's always wet and damp in it. And you see these blue electric motors with a gear on it, staying vertically in the middle of the second washback. This has a shaft going into the washback, and there you have a blade, broad blade over the complete diameter of the washback, and this turns in a whoosh, 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 whoosh. That's a hertz, roughly, and that cuts the foam rising up on the fermenting mash or wort.
So it
wash.
doesn't bubble over.
That won't bubble over and spill over. But you can see sometimes if you have a power shortage, then it really spills over. I have a few photos made in 1995. There they had a spillover, a power shortage, as a sister distillery of Talisker, the same company. And there you could see the foam coming over. Yeah, so this was the inside of the distillery. The first inside, still house is coming up soon. And next is the second tasting of the Talisker Storm, priced again in the mid-30s. And all those three whiskies have 45.8 ABV. And I remember when the Classic Malt of Scotland were introduced, they looked for the best ABV for each distillery by a sample of the whiskies, and for Talisker, for all these and the others which are not on the table, as well as the distiller's edition, all is 45.8. Mm-hmm. So this is always the same for all. There's just the 57 North, which has more, and now the 11-year-old special release from the special release 2022, with the 11-year-old with his jellyfish on the card box, which has 55 point a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't remember right. The video should be online next week's.
So let's try the Storm then. Here's a question: does Talisker have a problem with water supplies in summer? I don't know.
Not this summer.
So. I don't think so. You barely have distilleries that have water problems.
You can't say that.
You have a cooling problem.
Yeah, you have a cooling problem. It's processed water, not water for the whiskey, but for the coolers.
Yeah, so a lot of distilleries change their cooling systems. I've just visited a lot of distilleries, and they have all done intercoolers and all that kind of stuff. Then you are really very independent of water. You don't need a river to cool your distillery anymore. So you can have that in a small pond or something like that, or you don't need any cooling at all because you do it like nearly no cooling at all. So it must be, there will be no problem with water in the future because we have just better cooling equipment.
So there are more questions. Antonio D. How would you compare the Talisker 10 to the Kalila 12? So I will do this comparison because the Kalila belongs to the same company as Talisker, so we are not moving too far. The Kalila has a lot more of smoke, but is a lot sweeter and more gentle. Yeah. Yes. How do they keep the wooden mash tuns in good shape? You typically
caustic and steam clean.
Yeah, that's it. Steam cleaning. Yeah.
But they are, and some distilleries, they are now working not on a caustic cleaning, but enzyme cleaning.
So this is again very smoky. Not extreme smoky, but you definitely have the smoke first in your nose. But it's not that strong that you can't feel others. And I think there's more maritime notes in it. Not the citrus note, but more berry, a little bit darker. Yeah. It's a close relative to the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a close relative, but you do realize it's definitely not the same. I do have a strangely different peat style in it. I feel like the first one was a bit more of a bonfire. This one is more of a, I don't know.
There's more sea in it.
Sea in it, a bit. Yeah, I didn't want to say phenolic because it is not a dry phenolic one. It's just, it has a bit of a more of a marine touch to it, a little bit of a sea salt going on, and strangely enough, the Storm is a bit hiding. For me, the Skye was a bit stronger in the nose.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Starting with a comparable oiliness, but then a lot more of spice. Not only pepper, but chili. Intense on my tongue. Massive, maritime, together with the spiciness. And the chili is fading and leaving over the oakiness, the spice of the oak. Yeah. The aftertaste, a little dryness, which wasn't there with this Skye.
What it was lacking in intensity in the nose, it's now definitely has it in the what do you call it, in the taste. It's very strong. It has a chili catch again, It has edges, but also a lot of oak in it. That's the thing of this whiskey. The Storm is a mixture between older cask and younger cask. It is a no age statement because if you have younger cask, then you have to write the youngest on it, and yeah. But it's strangely intriguing that it has so much variation in it. I do like it.
Yeah. Ben Holmes, I understand Talisker store their cask away from Skye. Will this impact flavor considerably?
A bit.
Yeah, no. I strongly oppose, because you have strong winds coming from the sea. And these strong winds will pass the island in a few minutes, and 20 minutes later they will be on the mainland.
Yeah.
And the absolute identical air coming thousands of kilometers or miles over the ocean, over the Atlantic Ocean, reaches those casks on the mainland a few minutes later. So there isn't much interchangement in that time. The only thing might be is if those warehouses would stand in higher locations where temperatures are different,
Yep.
where snow might be there in winter. So this would result in a difference, but not if they are located there as well at the seashore. And they have, I think, 3 warehouses with a space for, they said, 6,800
Yeah, we'll
casks.
come to that.
And yeah, I think now it's time for the pictures, for the next pictures. And
This is the back of the distillery.
yeah, and the distillery has 2.6 million liters production volume per year. So it's not one of the very big, but it's not one of the small. So it's a medium-sized distillery, and they used to triple distill their whiskey. If we move forward to the the spirit stills first, and then they changed to double distillation. And if you look very carefully to these spirit stills, you recognize those are spirit stills because they have the blue color at the joints and the pumps and everything. And the blue color was law in former times. Today you do not have to have that. Then you're missing the small windows for looking into the still if the wash is boiling right. So these are the spirit stills. And you see the line arm going over to the wall, passing the wall to the outside. And this line arm is exactly horizontal. And on the outside, you can see it, there are warm tubs. You have to say later on something to the warm tubs. And when they had a triple distillation, then the alcohol was very clean after the third distillation. And then in 1928, they changed to a double distillation, and then they added those pipes coming out of the wall below the line arm, those two small ones, and the right one was added, and that goes into the pot still on a higher level, and that's a reflux. So
How do you call it? A reflux line or
yeah, pipe.
Reflux
Pipe. So what is condensing very fast outside will return by this reflux pipe and will be heated again, so will be more contact with copper and then going out. The second line, I think, is a venting line. If you empty or fill the still, then you open that blue valve sitting on this branch coming out of the still, and there the air, when you fill it, the air can move out through that, or when you drain it, then the air will come in. So this is just a venting pipe. And all those three have these reflux pipes, and they have no constriction above the pot, and they have no reflux bowl. So this is quite straightforward distillation. And now we're coming to the wash stills, those two. And you see they have these reflux bowls where the surface is bigger, where the cooling of the liquid or the still is cooler, and the water alcohol vapors will condense on that reflux bowl and drop into the into the wash still again. And then you have these two windows above the reflux bowl. There you can see the wash bubbling. If you cook it, then you have the venting line with the red valve there, and then the reflux pipe behind that going out. And the specialty of these stills is the line arm, which leaves horizontally but then makes an S turn down, so you have an U-shaped line arm going out to the
Condenser.
condenser, which is a warm tub. And I saw just thank you for 40 something. I wasn't able to recognize.
45 cents. No.
No.
I don't know. Might be a good sum.
Yeah, probably. So thank you. It was too fast, and I was too into the text that I couldn't remember your name.
The chat is pretty chatty today.
Yeah. So this was now the unusual shape of the line arm. And outside we have the warm tubs. And you have something to say to the warm tubs?
Yeah, the warm tubs are an old way of condensing the spirit back to a liquid. And the thing with warm tubs compared to the new shell and tube is that they have a lot less copper contact. And that gives you a much spicier spirit. If you compare them to other Diageo distilleries, let's say the Mortlach, they also have warm tubs, also very spicy. Strangely enough, a lot of Diageo distilleries have warm tubs.
It's Dalwhinnie, it's Glen Elgin, it's Talisker, it's Mortlach. You had one, it's Craigellachie.
Yeah, I've not been to Elgin.
So there are quite a few. And so this shows that Diageo, the proprietor of Talisker, open as well.
But they are really slow, so they're easy.
They have a feeling for the old stuff, because warm tubs are the very old way of condensing the whiskey vapors. And then came the cast iron boxes with the big pipes in it. This was Victorian time. And after that, they came to the industrial condensers, where you have a lot of small pipes in it, in a big water housing. Yeah, tube. Yeah, next picture. Warehouse. So we said already a lot. So there are 3 warehouses containing 6,800 casks, and they are quite close to the sea. But this is inland. This is saltwater lock, but the rough coast is behind those hills you're seeing up there, probably 2 or 3 miles.
6 to 10.
Yeah, okay.
5, 6, somewhere around there.
Yeah, this is from the north. So you have this is the main road passing the distillery. At the
main road is pretty small there.
And you see the chimney for the producing the heat.
Yeah, and you see the warehouse is right next to the sea. Must be one of my pictures because it's high tide.
Yeah.
And that's where the slogan "Made by the Sea" comes from.
Mm-hmm. And the rest, is the rest of the working for the visitor center, something probably. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
the
last one is the Talisker, 10 years old. It's priced as well in the mid-30s. And this is the classic one. So it's from the classic malt of Scotland. And it's the only one with an age statement here in this tasting, 10 years of age. And the small shows the old label. And I think the content hasn't changed. They stayed to the same recipe. So the taste is exactly the same as the classic malt of Scotland were introduced in 1989. And there the Talisker had a light colored box where you had a map, a maritime map on it. And those old bottles now are collector's items. And if you have an old one with the 8 years on it from the Ascot Cellar collection, which was the predecessor, as I said, to the Classic Malt of Scotland, then I think they are really valuable today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is more complex. This is not that rough as the others are. There is more maritime notes. There is this citrus note in it as well. A lot of smoke, of course. Massive.
Is that true? The 10-year-old is priced at $80 in America or in Washington State?
Haha. They had those excess taxes starting from aluminum and steel production. And then they got the 25% on top of it as a return to the taxes.
No, that was the other way around.
No, the EC gave the high taxes, tolls, tariffs to the US bourbon. And the US bourbon said, well...
Then we do Scotch.
World Trade Organization says same taxes on both directions, which is not always true. And then the prices rose in the US a lot.
Okay.
And I think they try to keep it there. Yeah. $80. Yeah. Yeah. Antonio D would like to watch you reviewing the Portree. Yeah, I had it, but unfortunately not in English.
I'm expected to smell it now. Did you already smell it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then it's my turn.
More citrus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit fresher. It's a bit lighter and a bit easier, I would say. It does have that bit of a spicy smell to it. A bit of a smoky smell to it, but it's much lighter than the others. So I'm not quite sure if the sequence we did it is in the right direction. So. Let's have a look how it tastes.
Yeah, should I start first?
Yeah, go. I'll follow you. It's more mature. It's more oak in it. It's more balanced. It's I would like to say gentle, but now there's the chili catch, there's the peppery note in it. Massive. This is oakiness. And I'm not able to distinguish the spiciness from the tannins versus the spiciness from the warm tubs. So typically you would have more sulfur resulting from the warm tub condensing, because the sulfur is converted during catalytic processes to more stable compounds which won't disturb your nerves. So it might be that the longer maturation in casks reduce that and keep the oakiness stronger. What I do realize, it's through and through a bit older. Whereas you had oakiness in the Storm, this one has no young stuff in it, and you feel it. It doesn't have that strong chili catch. The chili catch is a bit lighter, but it's still there. You have that glowing in your mouth. You have a lot of spiciness in there, a lot of pepperiness. And yeah, there's always that discussion, chili catch or pepper. Yeah, I think this one has both.
Martin Vincent says something. The others probably took away the punch of the 10-year-old. That's true, I think.
Yep.
So if you have just the Talisker in a flight of others, then it will always outstand with the spiciness. And now having two spicy, sharp, chili whiskies first, then they took it really away from them.
Antonio D, thanks to you, I discovered Distillers Edition. A Distillers Edition always a good thing. The Distillers Edition is just very nice with the casks.
Yeah. So I have to say, the Talisker Distillers Edition is one of my very, very favorite. And the Talisker Portree is as well one of my favorite, and the Dark Storm as well. So I would hope that we're able to get miniatures of those three and
maybe
have
we
a
can do
comparison of that.
Another Talisker video.
Yeah.
But the thing is with the Talisker video, now we come a little bit to the last thing. Talisker has a new design, 2021, and yeah, now we do also have they have a new visitor center since August 2022, and I'm not quite sure if that date is right. I think we got the date from the internet. They had a bit of a reconstruction going on at Talisker. So
The old visitor center was small and fine, and had wooden walls, and was very dark, friendly, old. Had brass instruments from the sea for navigation, maps in it. So was really, really fun.
I think they have still that theme going on with wood and stuff, but I think it's quite extensive now and a bit more new.
I visited the distillery, I think, in 2005, and I was part of the crew of a cruise ship from Hapag-Lloyd, the MS Bremen, and they visited all the islands out there from Shetland, Orkneys, then the Outer Hebridean Islands, the Inner Hebrides. And so we also visited the distilleries, and I was the guide. So I was allowed to travel with them for free. And my wife, they say, well, of course, you have a cabin, you can bring your wife as well. And so it was free for me. And the first time I had to have a presentation and a tasting in front of all those people on the moving floor. I was quite nervous if the moving floor, when we passed from Norway over to Scotland through the oil rigs, if they would be okay. And so it was the first and only time I had a presentation so I had employees in front of 1,000 collective from the company. So the first time people fell asleep.
It's a cruise ship.
They drowned. They were 100 years old in company with their parents, and they drowned their drinks as fast as they could, and then they fell asleep. And I talked to those falling asleep. Probably only 3, 4, 5, but this was weird. But a funny story.
Yeah. So favorite. I have a different direction than last time. For me, it was close for two of them.
So first time I had best 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
So this was the first time. Now with this tasting, I changed my mind a little bit.
Yeah, I changed it as well.
And now it's 3, 1, 2.
3, 1, 2. I got 2, 1, 3. For me, the Talisker Storm this time was just much more. And again, you were with 3, 1, 2. Okay, so now you're a bit more with the crowd.
Yes, I'm with the crowd. Yeah,
I'm with the crowd. I'm exactly counted to the crowd. But I have to say, that making a comparison here, I do like all of the 3 bottlings. For me, it doesn't look very close when you look at the stats from the people, but for me it was very close. Yeah.
So Nikami asked, did you visit the distillery already? You came late, I think. In the beginning, we showed the picture of the distillery when we visited it. I visited in 2005, and Ben was there just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, at the distillery, not in the distillery. Yeah. So let me do a little bit of advertisement for next time. Yeah, we're going to have the next live tasting on the 5th of December. Be careful, that's a Monday. Yeah, it's going to be an AMA live tasting with, what's that in English? St. Nicholas?
St. Nicholas.
Yeah, there's a German tradition that on the 5th of November or December, or is it the 6th? Some do it on the 5th, some do it on the 6th.
The day is the 6th, but you're presenting on the 5th, because in the night between the 5th and the 6th, St. Nicholas will come and put gifts and sweets into the boots.
Yeah, and there was also Krampus. I think you were Krampus for 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, so
there's gonna be.
If you haven't been a nice guy, then it will
naughty.
be punishing.
Yeah. So on the Monday, the 5th of December, it will be a AMA live stream with a couple of random whiskeys. Just a chat. You will have some questions if you have some, or you can have something. I don't know. You want to ask something, you want to have something explained or something, then we'll just have a nice chat. Or you can just chat into the chat, and that would be also welcome. Where is it going to be? It's always going to be at Whisky.com/live at 8 p.m. Central European Standard Time. But if you are from somewhere that's not Central Europe, then you should go to Whisky.com/live, click on the video, and then you will find out when it will be on your time zone.
And Purple Elephant asks, what is the St. Nicholas live tasting on 5th of December? We are not able to order the tasting kit yet.
Yeah, it's gonna be for I think you're German. It's gonna be from the special what's it, Sonderangebot?
Sale.
Sales from the special sales of December, and I haven't decided yet which ones I will take, but they will be presented shortly on the whisky.de/live. Yeah, I promise you I will do it this week.
So I think we are ready.
Next week.
45 minutes. 45 minutes passed.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Thank you to the chat and to everybody who tried it with us. And yeah, thank you and see you next time.